us about stories with my dad and mom.
I guess it's my fiduciary responsibility to tell you some stories about Antone Clark and his courting and dating days. I recall one time at I think it was a homecoming game at BYU. I was home in Burley, married, working, and whatever, and Dad and I were involved in the farm. And he had this wild hair that we ought to go down to the BYU football game. So we hopped in his airplane and we flew down to Provo, got tickets, went watched the game, and afterwards we were talking, wouldn't it be nice if we bumped into Antone? But of course we knew there were so many people we wouldn't see Antone. And we're rocking around past the goalposts on the south end of the field, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of the goalpost, or by the goalpost, there's Antone hanging onto this woman's hand. And as soon as he saw us, he threw her hand down like it was a dirty rag. He didn't want to be caught holding hands with a woman. And the woman later turned out to be Cindy, whom he later married, but I never forget him, how he was like caught in the headlights, like a deer in the headlights. He got caught holding, oh, I thought, oh, my brother Antone needs to learn some romantic skills. He probably took him 4 or 5 years to learn how to kiss, but anyway. He so wonderful reminds me that at Rick's College, I was the boy and he was the man. He was the man. He took women out, they read scriptures together. And I did stupid things like date him and kiss him and chase him and things like that. You know, that was ridiculous to do that kind of stuff as a freshman. So Antone, he made me look bad. But I'll never forget that BYU football game. So
it was the one game where I always had a press pass. I gave up my press pass on the box. Sat in the mountain seats.
He was a commoner for once.
He was a mere peasant.
Wasn't even a good seat.
Well, I can't think of a whole lot more stories about Antone right off.
We can tell stories about Brett.
Oh, don't want. Let's not start there. That would be.
I didn't read scriptures in my days.
That was a book.
It's apparent you were hunting while you're on your mission.
Brett was a deprived child. He was deprived. Charles never believed in having toys for his kids.
Well, he gets on the bus at the end of our tour and he can snivel and beg better than anybody in the family.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about? You hit up every passenger in that bus for something.
What are you talking about?
They're in Illinois.
When?
When we dedicated the grave of our relative.
We drove there.
You drove there, but you rode on the bus from one location to the other. Going up and down the aisle, taking gifts to everybody who give you anything.
I have no recollection of that.
We have selected memory.
I don't remember that.
But Antone was my birthday present when I was 7. I felt deprived then, and I'm still deprived. Because Antone was born on the 29th of July, so was I, and my oldest grandson was born on the 29th of July. Grandpa Hanks was born on the 30th of July. You need fridges?
They want
You want fridges? With it?
Would they have to work?
I can get a lot of fridges.
I need one that works.
You want a fridge that works? Sure. Come up and get it. In my garage.
Just don't put it in the back of your car.
It's a big car. It's chocolate and brown.
Ooh.
so they can look better.
Glenn, I'm going to give him our fridge.
I'm looking for.
Wait until after Thanksgiving with all the food.
Well, he's not going to come up tomorrow to get the fridge. You need to bring
It's
a
a working
pickup.
fridge.
Marketing, I think marketing.
Your dad's car won't handle it. It's a working fridge.
Size 22 ring finger.
Well, we got a brown fridge.
Size 22.
Marketing is
It's not big at all.
you try to determine
Stephen's former father-in-law tells the story about Richard and a couple hooligans
but you don't actually
who were going to. Go ahead.
Some
Marketing
teenage
people,
16 or
they
17-year-old
try to build
kids
the company.
were mad at him because he was officiating a baseball game, church game, and they didn't like his officiating. So they were over scheming, 2 or 3 of them, that afterwards they were going to jump Richard and pound on him. And my father-in-law
What kind of
said,
cereal do you eat for breakfast?
my ex-father-in-law said,
Son,
Who makes it?
maybe you ought to reconsider before you jump on that man.
What kind
He
of
had
shoes
size
you wearing?
22-inch fingers. They were like
I
that.
mean, it was
massive.
He and his brother used to pick up Volkswagens and put them upside down.
That's a brand name.
No, I'm telling you, they were big. And Uncle Morgan was a big man
What kind
too.
of car does your dad?
Big.
Uncle Richard, I think, was the strongest, don't you think?
Who's the one that had the
He
special
and David,
football
maybe?
helmet? Right?
David.
Yeah, yeah.
No, he couldn't fit in the standard, but he was fast. Fastest man in the team. He played football for BYU and wrestled for BYU.
Ball over his shoulder through the cow.
No, that would come.
No, that was with John, wasn't it? When he knocked, he took that.
He did that when I was growing up. You ever heard of Toyota?
His dad made him walk home from practice.
I drive a Toyota. That's
And
brand new.
David told me even later in life, his dad came up and said, aren't you sorry you wasted all your time in sports? And he said,
Marketing.
you don't have a clue.
They do things.
The only game Grandpa went to was his final game as a senior in college. When he got the
Who
blanket.
makes Barbie dolls?
You heard what Jesse Evans said?
Mattel is a toy company. You ever heard of
It's
Mattel?
a profit. Yeah, I know who
Barbie.
Bad mouth
Barbie is
BYU
actually-
football at this ceremony. They were getting the
Mattel
blankets
manufacturers and they
and saying negative things about the players and everything. And Jeff, the profit was,
And there are a lot
and
of
Jesse Evans Smith, his wife said,
It really is a form of trying to communicate things to other people in order to make them.
That's not what he's talking about. He didn't do this.
and Jesse Evans Smith was a huge fan of David's.
Was his wrestling.
Sometimes
In wrestling.
Well, he tells this story. You know, he finished 15 years ago.
suppose you want to make a really
He lost to
reliable
Curly
car,
Cole. Yeah,
but in order to do that, it's not very flashy. It doesn't go very fast.
but David is so
It's
soft-spoken.
reliable. So you try to build up
If
your
his
brand.
brothers had been allowed to look. Well, he donated all the money for the practice field.
That's right. So you write dictionaries to break
I
down.
went to, did you meet?
That's your cousin, right? Taking his
That's what the
Oh,
dictionary
there's one in Jackson Hole.
I was talking
And he built the IPS.
Reliant means
Practice.
a very little man, diminutive.
His money did.
exactly.
The metal
He builds hospital warehouses.
Oh, wow.
Do you know who you were?
Other
Yes,
words like
president.
leave and leave that sound like it means something.
I guess they will.
neurosurgeon?
Oh, I know all about that.
You'll answer.
Dean and
Uncle Dean disowned
nothing, had
him.
nothing to do with
He and
it.
Diane for a number of years
Cameron!
until his well.
Hi! Nice!
Right?
Hi! Oh! The second one's been here.
What you been feeding that kid?
What have we been feeding him? This is Cameron about a month before Christmas.
Private plane.
He's 9 months old.
The answer to his plane is just why.
Are you excited?
Nathan was walking at 9 months old because Aaron was walking 2
I
months
did.
older than
I
him.
backed myself up and
Like
pulled
walking
myself
up
up
furniture?
into the plane and scooted myself
Nathan was
into a
walking
seat.
because Aaron was
Because King Hussein couldn't pick me up.
Was that before you applied to tourniquet
He was
to your stitches?
Honestly,
Did you hear what your dad said, Uncle Dean?
Which time?
The last time before Dean died?
And
He went to him
He
and
was able to do
said,
that because
all your debts will be forgiven. Because it was-
you'll see him furniture walking.
he was able to move around because I pushed him around the nursing home so much. He became
Oh, nursing home, man.
We'll figure it out. We looked
That
at
was
it, we have the double crown too.
rehabilitation center. So they know.
Cameron. Oh yeah.
My friend, our cousin, relative, or was that Charles?
Two.
Oh, I took him down to visit our cousin,
No, it's
which
one.
lives in Pocatello, the one that's.
Oh, I never got to meet him yet.
Charles met him. He said, we're not Clarks.
We're not Clarks.
10 after 3.
Why? Because we're
We're
too
tall
long.
and handsome, he said.
Well, Clarks are very gentlemanly.
Very small.
We're not necessarily as gentlemanly as the Clarks are.
Okay, so let's see.
James hoping to see his brother Matt for a few minutes while we're here.
We
So work on the basic, you know, the
It's
basic.
it that way.
Where are we gonna meet him?
The nice thing about being
Cameron.
your dad is I feel less
Oh, my head
intimidated.
hurts.
And nobody notices. I can fade into the background. Nobody notices. And when your mom is
Camera.
I mean, I am so worlds away.
Would you make him
Their mom goes into full form at the slightest.
Have you been good for Santa Claus this year, Cameron?
I love it. Waxing
And that's on the New Times.
Oh, waxing might just be the term. Eloquent goes with
You know that this is all being recorded, so your father will hear this sometime.
Yes. All the time. My friends would come home from school.
No way.
You
They
have
would
friends?
play.
Can you believe it?
They would play and have fun and watch TV. And my mom bought little math booklets and had me do practice problems after school.
the top of
For like half an hour to an hour. And I still am terrible at math, but she'd have me do all this homework that wasn't even
Trying to help you.
schoolwork.
Uplift
It
managers.
was just extra practice.
They're kind of in charge of
Better prepared to get to BYU.
and they make a sign work assignment and they follow up.
It worked, but I
Make sure
don't
things
credit
get done by
that.
the
BYU.
What do you accredit?
Because your funds were limited.
I sent my picture.
You know, I've already
You want to come out of
His picture was his application.
raising the level.
Wow.
Praise to his name.
Actually, your grandfather Clark wrote the university letter and said, "I promise you, that if you take this one, I'll never send another one your way."
Or
No,
I will
I
never
still
come
got,
to
I
campus.
still got Peter to train.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
He's just gonna go to
Yeah.
Georgia or wherever. No, you're going to
Dulles. Down with the Dulles.
Where's your favorite college?
BYU.
BYU.
BYU has no football.
Well, they're playing University of Idaho for heaven's sakes.
Because it's so easy to badmouth them.
Especially in Riley.
They haven't beat a single team that has a winning record.
All right.
What's that got to do with it?
I don't know.
What does it have to do?
I hope
Well,
they get
if I knew anything about football, I'd tell you, but I've
The
Well,
other
I
question
found
is-
out last night you know nothing.
Yeah.
Because your son.
Have they lost at
enlightened me.
any teams that have a losing record?
Yeah, Utah. Well, Utah's barely. Are they 500 yet?
No, well, yeah,
They're bowl eligible now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but
They've only lost.
they are. They're over
two,
500.
That game was a fluke.
They
I
lost
want a
4.
rematch.
Utah had.
no, they got
TCU
I know, but
and
31-6.
turnovers.
Washington.
Washington.
there's a thing on YouTube where
Arizona.
it's like
I thought they beat Arizona.
Cameron, are you entertained by the doll?
Arizona
beat
State.
Arizona.
Look.
They lost
Look.
Arizona State, but they beat
he like
Arizona.
we can pick it up and he like
Isn't Erickson
jumps over the wall.
State?
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
had
What did you just do that?
I don't know anything, but I do know
Yeah,
that.
Dennis Erickson.
So they're 3 and 4 in conference.
Smell.
Isn't he a BYU boy?
That's what
He's out there. So
Also,
this is for story
well, I think he was in Hawaii or something.
that little incognito visit.
Yeah.
The first thing he said to me was, that was very
What did he say?
First thing Charles said
I'm
to
gonna
me
give you the
was,
hardest
your
story
hair's
problem
dark.
ever.
And, wait, no, scratch
Your
that.
eyebrows are
Thank
huge.
you.
What else?
No, scratch that a second.
Okay,
First thing he said was, I shook his hand. I'm like, oh, it's so great to
It's
meet you.
one
And he
that
said, who are
stumps
you?
everybody.
I'm like,
Think
I'm
about
your
it.
future daughter-in-law. He's
You
like,
haven't learned enough
oh, your
math
hair's
to answer
dark.
it.
That's where Catherine learned.
Every the different class.
Catherine never said that.
Well,
Catherine just took the same version. Just
I don't know what
You can
that
say this for Charles, he's quick on his feet, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's as quick as Catherine.
He's quick on his feet once he gets up.
Catherine's
I'll
literally
just tell you, and
embarrassing.
you can remember it.
She doesn't
Someday,
even know
I'll
it.
get to the point where
Well,
She's so genuinely herself.
she's
the
cute.
story problems turns up
She's
in a lot.
cute.
She's not inhibited.
She's hilarious.
Catherine is not inhibited.
So,
What is oh?
She's not inhibited.
Uninhibited.
What does
suppose
inhibited look
You
like?
have two trains,
Well, they don't ask
and
the
they're on the
questions that
same
Catherine
track,
asked
heading
on the
toward each
first,
other, and they don't
first
know that.
First
So you
question.
have two places.
First question twice. So 2 wives.
Let's hear it.
Make it from city
Are those real?
45.
Oh, really?
The other train to make the city
Thank you.
need a city.
It's a little bit easier from over here to tell him.
So how many minutes?
No, I bought these down at Kmart. Oh, I got one at Walmart and one at Kmart.
Hey, Steven,
How many
did you ever learn how to
Yeah,
conduct?
probably. You're heading toward each other on the track.
Would be better for us to
I'll give you a different.
Was Diane with? Diane was with him.
So-
And what did you?
No, you weren't. I just think you were.
course we
That's
were.
how I
Well,
recognized
this
him.
is a good one.
When I
Okay,
saw him,
so
I don't know why I didn't recognize
you
him.
have
I didn't see
John
his pictures.
and Tom.
But I looked at her and I was like,
And
oh, you know.
John
she
can mow
was very
the lawn.
sweet.
What did your parents
My mom was not happy.
Tom can
Not happy at all. And my mom is a
So
very
working together.
quiet person.
Very mellow.
Does not sit her opinion as the exact
She
opposite.
probably said, "What are you getting into, daughter?"
She actually questioned it very many times. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Well, that was the whole point of it. Submarine on the other end.
What a gem! He was high. He's a diamond in the rough.
He must have called, did he call you in when he called in the statistics?
This way. This one gave me the
What?
answer. This stuff you think about.
Tell you what?
So how long does it take John?
Yeah, we had 25 gospel discussions. I had one discussion on eternal marriage.
So if John does it by himself,
That would be the
it'll
fifth
be
lesson,
45
right?
minutes. Tom helps. Oh, it'll take
I'll have to bring him next time.
Brad, I know you.
I didn't talk to her at all.
No, it's true.
I thought we were talking about Craig and his ability.
Craig would be like, hey!
When they go to the temple on a date and they're both temple workers,
Actually, if you give me a piece of paper,
think
I've
maybe
got a
it's-
pen. I'll show
they're
you.
both temple
You
workers.
can't rush things, Steve.
Yeah.
They've been dating for what, like 8 years?
Always looking at the ground. He could spot money from a long distance. And he could squeeze, he could
didn't
steal
have that
soda
much.
better than anybody who's ever been in the Burley Police Department.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
not
probably
hard
King Soda. That's
Give me that hymn book.
The her book or the hymn?
But he couldn't get a Sprite out.
no, we could. We got a Sprite out.
Did you? That must have taken some real finagling.
Yeah, well,
We-
okay, that's forgivable. That's even better. Then you got baptized.
So I realized this was all free because I was going to get baptized when I was 8, and all this stuff was just
John would be the only one to figure that all out. Well, let's see.
He didn't reach the age of accountability. He didn't quite understand what he was doing.
I'm not accountable, Lord.
No, it was a strange feeling. I said, this doesn't count.
I want a different name than John, so I can use T.
So there's something wrong with the teaching here,
Long,
or the perception.
45 minutes.
So Uncle Steven, the tunnel network you dug in the backyard,
Is that okay?
Well, it wasn't in the backyard. It was over beside the mountain.
wherever it was.
Well, where the house sits, it was south of the house,
It's 60.
about 200 yards.
Was this Charles's
Bottom of the
idea?
hill.
Over where the gravel pit was.
Yeah, Bob.
Okay, towards the
Oh,
store.
you're talking about the gravel pit.
The gravel pit we had where we used to dig up agates and where Charles was going like this.
So,
And he got buried alive
we
there?
say we have
His feet were sticking up. I had a chance to be uno numero.
T.
You went ahead and sacrificed.
It's my fault that you're here. I could have stopped all of that.
You could have been my dad!
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
I shot myself for that one. I have enough not yet.
My dad talks about
This family's got more
I like
one-liners.
that story all the time.
What?
He always says, oh, Steve likes to talk about the gravel pit story, how he saved my life.
Well, it's true.
I know, but my dad just doesn't like
I don't talk about it as much as he thinks I do. Only when he. There's a lot more enjoyable stories I tell about town.
We're one of the few people who can keep your father on defense. Stephen is especially.
Charles was an interesting brother.
Expound. Isn't it?
Expound.
Well, how did he react to all your wild mechanical
I
things?
probably told the story 100 times about Robert Hilton. When Robert Hilton was up this summer, we went on wet pitched horseshoes with him, and we laughed. And Robert
You told
tells stories of how he used to do card tricks.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes he got to where he had Charles so
Say that.
psyched.
psyched up that he couldn't do anything wrong. And Charles kept saying, the devil's, you're possessed. And one day he's walking down the street, and Robert says to Charles, I bet I can tell you what coin you have in your pocket. You have a quarter. And Charles reached in and looked at it and said, yes. And Robert said, I can tell you what year it is. I think he said 1957.
Did he put it in his pocket?
And it was. It's just a fluke accident. From that point on,
Well, what about the card in the toilet?
oh, that was it.
The card in the
If you knew
toilet?
where the Hiltons lived,
Yeah, they had that big junkyard behind.
yeah. Well, that's about 200 yards from our house, do you think?
More.
More than that. Well, there were other friends with Robert, Jim T. and a bunch of them over there, and they liked whatever to be entertained. They called Charles to drag him around.
The gullible one.
And they called Charles and they were talking. And you know what they call him? Gizzard all the time. That was one of his names.
That's what I called our dog.
But he was talking to, and Robert's doing card tricks. And Robert had this wild hair and says,
over 60 plus one over 45.
Charles, I'm thinking of something. In fact,
Let's say.
I have an ace, or deuce of hearts, I guess it was. Deuce of hearts.
No,
Somebody said,
Dad said it was an ace because it had.
maybe it was an ace. It was an ace of hearts, and it was bloody. That's what it was. And he said, "I'm going to put it in the toilet and flush it. It's going to come up in the toilet." Well, and before he even said that,
It's gonna come up a new
he was
toilet.
talking to Charles on the phone. He handed the phone to someone else for a few minutes. And while Charles talking to Jim T, Robert runs all the way over, opens that back door in the house, puts the ace of hearts in the back, and then runs back. And then he says, "Charles, I'm having this thing. In fact, listen." And he flushes the toilet. Charles hears it. "Charles, I'm having this thing that I'll bet you there's an ace of hearts that's bloody in your toilet." We were the only ones home, Charles and I. And when he got that, he was so scared. He drugged me into the piano, and we knelt down at the piano and said a prayer. Because he wanted to cast the devil out of the house.
He's got good reflexes, eh?
Yeah,
How did he shoot himself in the leg with a pellet gun?
oh, I can't remember all of that. Charles
Is that the answer?
wasn't one you wanted to give a gun or a weapon to.
Is that the answer? Let's see.
Sometimes I wonder if you grew
The
up in
best
the same
story
house as you
is
guys.
the house story where Charles is out front directing.
So let's see.
You know, he should have put maybe Antone out front. It would have been just the same results. Because Charles had no idea of mechanical things.
He's even less mechanical than I am.
Yes, he is.
So he's supposed to tell somebody how to drive the house around a
Well, no,
corner?
we're out. He's out front directing Dad as to,
60 and 40.
you know, like this and like this, and to keep it from tipping over on the edge. Well, Charles,
Math.
first off, the trailer Dad had was never conducive for hauling houses because it had two sets of axles instead of one like most of them had a whole bunch of them. And so if this one flipped, you know, and so
45.
we're Charles out there going like this, and all of a sudden I look in the back window and this house goes down about 50 feet down the creek and smashes.
Oh, is that Charles was directing that when that happened?
Charles was out front directing us.
That's on his conscience then?
Dad and I
Burning the house.
Forget about burning the house, Dad.
Burn the house.
What he did was insignificant.
Yeah, I mean, you know he burned down a wing of the hospital too.
Charles almost burned that down. We took our pants off, put that out.
480.
So you guys ran in your
Did you
underwear
ever
home?
remember John going down the
Yeah, Charles had
hospital?
to take his pants off and beat out
Remember the
car.
wheelchairs were in the hospital? We had fun with them. We used to run up and down the halls in the wheelchairs, and then you go in the operating room, and all the instruments are still there. And they had a forceps thing.
Is this in the town that Grandpa owns?
Mom, let's see your head. You know, he had the ugliest head on
That's
the
right.
board.
It's what 6 and
And
18
they had to
pull him out with forceps.
plus
they had to be pulled.
4.
But I used to do something that really pissed me off.
45 into 180.
I'd do that. He'd get so mad, and I'd wait till Mom and Dad were supposed to be around, and I'd start doing that, and Charles would whack me.
Now down here.
The best story, though, is when your brother or your dad came home from college as a freshman. He's got his size, 6'5" or something,
7.
and he got in a discussion with Dad. And he was so angry, he tried to kick Dad in the rear end. Dad caught his foot. Whoa, entertaining! And then all of a sudden, Dad's demeanor changed.
Mom was in the
what?
room.
Boom, boom!
Oh.
You know, Dad was laughing for a minute, and then he just got mad, all of a sudden, and he dropped his leg and worked on Charles for a few minutes, and that was the end of it. Pulverized him. You didn't, Dad was.
That's the first time I've heard it.
I would have loved to see this, just as a little fly on the wall.
Let's see, if Charles were a freshman in college at 18 or 19, how old were you? You were probably,
You guys really should have had a video camera.
so you were 10 maybe.
Yeah, years difference.
Yeah, but that was one of the fond memories I've had.
Bond?
Oh, or the time Here's one on John.
Here's one on John.
We had a willows down off the hill, and whenever we used to get in trouble, Mother would say,
Go get a willow.
"Go get a willow," and she'd give us a knife, and we'd go down and come back with a willow. When John went down, he'd come back with the size of his willow.
And then he
I remember that
would chase him around the table.
I laughed so hard she didn't beat him.
Laughed him around, chased him around the table.
And we're coming back with these willows, these weapons.
It was an IQ test.
We're just not as smart as John is.
I remember getting whipped and then just the welts firing at my arms as you're trying to fend off the blows. I got whipped because I didn't practice the piano.
From Dad?
Wow.
Mom?
You want to get whipped now or you want to wait till your dad comes
I
home?
can remember one time when you were whipped, John.
No choice there.
And you were about,
this
I
already.
remember when you were about 4 years of age and you got whipped outside because you had messed your pants. And Dad got so angry he was beating on you and he pulled your pants down, turned on the faucet and just squirt him down right there.
Oh my God.
And I'm
That
going,
could
"Whoa."
explain my affection for
That's
the
why
parental
Stephen
pair.
is not on the funeral list of speakers.
I've been eliminated from the, or the time that your father pissed Mom off, Charles, and Mom was chasing Charles with a broomstick. She hit him, and that broom had it snapped right in the middle because of the way the fiber of the wood was. And so from that on, we had to use the willow. But I remember her best weapon to beat us was, if you don't stop, I'm going to tell you why. And we stopped. I don't know if you had that same thing.
Yeah.
Boy, we stopped right now and let Mother just wail on us a little bit, make her feel
She
better.
never hit you real hard.
And we actually believed that she didn't tell Dad. I think she did it in some because I think she'd known how Dad would have flown off.
Well, at least she cried sometimes when she was whipping us. So.
Yeah, she did. Well, but you think of having 6 of us boys playing football in the living room or basketball in the hallway. And
More understandable.
and Mother's done all these things that she cherishes.
Absentee husband by and large. He's always gone.
Did you? I think the only good memories I have of that was Charles and I were in the back of an airplane before. A number of times.
What's your memory of the plane crash?
40.
You know, in the back seat.
What?
Karen loved it.
I scraped the
I was in the
window.
back seat.
I scraped the window and then they slid the thing forward. And I,
Okay. So I put my head between my legs and said, let's get ready. I waited and waited and we're floating around and Gordon's up there
The answer is
shadowing.
25.
I lift up my head and I broke my nose. I was
young. Blood in that thing.
I was the only guy waiting for the crash and it was so long coming that when I
Well,
looked
is that
up,
when we hit the highway or
What
when
did
we
you
hit
hurt? Did
the...
you hurt yourself?
yeah, I broke my nose.
Broke his nose.
Oh, I can't tell. Oh.
That was on the piano.
Well, you were the only one that got hurt then, weren't you?
He was.
I remember Gordon on the news explaining all this stuff, and I thought,
Oh boy.
Gordon doesn't know anything.
Oh, he was explaining it to passersby. They were
Yeah,
We're sitting on the. He was sitting on the plane wing, and all these guys stop, and he's
enjoying
chatting
the moment.
away.
He was telling stories.
And then a tire popped, and everybody just went.
Got
They
out
thought
of
that plane was going to explode.
You know what kind of an airplane it was?
Avion, naval avion.
Avion.
Avion. I just had a sliding top because I remember scraping the window so I could see, and then they slid it forward, and I had.
Do you ever remember his T6?
I have pictures of it, but that was his.
That's what Charles and I.
Was that the World War II plane?
Yeah. Well, he had two. The first one he had was a
He loves
T-28.
women.
That's one he could not fly, and so Forrest Coltrane took him up one morning about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's one has 1,200 horsepower. It shook the windows of Burley. And he was doing things, and then he said, Horace, this is how we land these things. You come over the deck, and then you do a whoop, and slam it on the deck. And by the time Dad got out of that plane, he was green. He was sick. Because they were doing stalls and hammers. And Dad thought he was really a big-time pilot. Thought he was a novice. He was flying with he wasn't a Blue Angel, but he was an advanced technical pilot for the Air Force. And he gave that a lesson in flying.
Did you ever hear Uncle Jerry's story about Dad taking him up in an airplane?
Hey Matthew, how are
They were
you?
going straight out.
This is my brother Matthew, everybody.
Nathan, hi
We've
Nathan.
seen him before.
My cousin Nathan. Hey guys. Nathan.
Free food in there, guys.
All right.
Like he was flying over.
To be effective.
Well, there are a lot of stories of how he used to keep the priests active in church. He'd give them an hour of flying if they were 100% attendance for like 6 months.
Really?
And he had Eddie Wolstenhume and Lynn Larson, people you probably don't remember, but Lynn Larson's the one that had a little notebook. And when he took off, he'd record the time. And he's the one that said to Dad one day, "You owe me 13 or 15 minutes of flying time." That's the time Dad went flying, and they lost the lights on the airport.
Oh, where he had that.
Where Frank Hammond then brought cars down to put the lights on
in the river.
And he lived.
Because he read the lights wrong, and somebody on the Havern side was.
Yeah, he almost went river.
There was a guy who flew up to see the airplane this week in the Twin Beach, and I said, you know, he'd flown in the airport. I said, you know, did you land in the river? He said, no, but well, it's different landing in that airport.
It used to scare me. He'd come over the river and then he'd cut the engines and glide in.
Well, the first time he flew with Dad when he was learning was when Charles and I were with. Yeah, I thought landings went like this. Boing, 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 boing.
You mean they don't?
Oh. Well, actually, Dad became quite an interesting pilot when he was flying those experimentals. He was flying some of those little quick, he had a little smaller.
Oh yeah, he crawls all over the place.
He landed like 110 mile an hour.
Where's he going?
The kitchen.
Well, what was Dad landing on
I
the
still
road
want to go up
to?
the stairs.
I know he was chased by, was it Air Force jets away from restricted
But he was
airspace?
forced down and grounded for that.
Was he?
Now, the other story is, my companion was from Star Valley, a call. Dad sold the airplanes to his Glenn calls models, and they were later in an accident where they would hit a midair. But Glenn, my companion, said, "Al McClurk from Burley, I know a story about him that you probably don't know." I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Well, in Utah, he was flying under an underpass with the wheels on the road and was grounded from flying in Utah for a while." And Dad would probably never admit it, but Dad was practicing one of those second-hand lion things. And then, of course, you know why he was out on the? Do you know why he was out on the bombing range?
Looking for a gold
Looking
mine.
for gold mines that Tony Jolly had told him all about.
He denied that, and I brought up the question, what was it, last year, and had him give his little spin on.
Oh, what really happened?
He'll never tell you what happened.
But that wasn't, his story didn't bear any
Didn't match
resemblance to
with
what
Air Force records?
So there are some old Bulls pilots.
F-14 were escorting him off the bombing range.
If he flies again, the FAA should be.
I don't know if he was a bull, he was just crazy.
You know, that airplane he's got now, seeing him try to, almost has to kneel to get into the plane.
Can you imagine him flying out without a license, without
No, I mean,
without
it took him 5 minutes to
He
get
just
out
flew
of the
it 2
plane.
months ago, didn't
He said it's no fun anymore.
He went and started up when I was down there.
he? Yeah.
And, you know, he's crawling in and out. I mean, it's a cute little plane, but little. And he's just too big for
But it
that.
has an N number, so it's a licensed airplane. See,
Just hasn't had an annual or a major for a while.
well, the major isn't as important as the annual.
Well, he told me Dick Tilley used to give him the annuals.
No, not Dick Tilley.
Which one?
The Tilley that was killed when John Stokes wrecked. Dick Tilley was the bandit. Lauren Tilley. Anyway, he was an A&P mechanic.
So it's been that many years.
And it was when he was with John Stokes when they were killed at the airport.
That's a long time ago.
When they were in a 150 Cessna and did a touch and go, and he went up and they lit right there just before the fairgrounds. You know, went head first into the.
It's the only way we'll ever get the stories.
Anyway, Dick Tilley was the bandit that we did a lot of stuff with.
Dad knows a lot of those kind of people.
We just cut a paper, Sandy cut out
Let me give
an
you some
article
names and tell me
on
how many of them you know.
Smith,
Bert Smith?
Bert Smith.
You know
So
Bert
there's-
Smith?
So
He
we
met him. No, I've just heard of him.
He's an interesting person.
went and met him on the way to Idaho a few months back. He told us a Flying with Alma story to Stibnite.
Was it different than what you'd heard before?
I never heard it. They're up there and they can't switch the tanks and they're sputting around and just barely getting over the Sawtooth Mountains and trying to get the gas to flow to the engines. And Bert Smith thought he was a gunner.
So Dad, well, what was it flying about? Altitude too. What altitude is Stibnite? It's a tough place
not
to
the
fly.
altitude so much as the mountains and the updrafts during the day because heat rises and falls. And that was when we were when he had his accident. Remember his toe? And I don't know if you ever remember it. That stunk so bad before they removed it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you probably remember.
I don't remember this well.
We were in the doctor's house, that two-story white house right next to the hospital.
I didn't remember living there until after the hospital.
But anyway, Dad, right after he had his toe removed, had some business in Payette or McCall, and we were in the Staggering Beach, so he took me with him. We took off and we're flying. And Dad's flying along here, and all of a sudden he says, I don't feel very good, and he passes out. And I'm 12.
Mickey Rooney in
Well, it probably was only 10 or 15 seconds, but it seemed like a long time. And we finally get there, we land, then on the way back it's during the day. And all of you kids were down at the bath. You know, where the
play
right at the end of the runway, and we came in on the final. Dad came around, and we hit a downdraft or something, and he shoved the throttle to that thing, and we went up just like this, up the side of that Gold Mine Mountain, and back around, and everybody in the creek was cheering, thinking Dad was entertaining, and Dad is saying to me, we're going to die. We're going to die.
This is not a new speed
We're going to die. Well, that Sagamore Beach was an anti-stall. I mean, if it had been any other plane he owned, it would have been dead. Smashed into the mountain. And then we let it, and he acted like, oh.
You know, he was telling
Barbara yesterday.
Well, I wrote an essay in English class.
John, or Charles, or Anton, Brett, you need to listen to this story.
We're connecting.
That doesn't matter. This is more important. Seniority.
No, go for the.
Yeah, I don't know the people.
Her uncle lives in Lake Clark.
Oh, really?
Oh. Her maiden name's DeMille. Like Cecil B.
Yes, we know him.
Are you saying you have permission?
All right, okay. I know.
Now that Charleston Heston has been reintroduced.
Charlton Heston was in the tank.
Well,
She doesn't like the movie.
she's brighter than she, you know, I mean, she's only made one.
I don't know if she likes bread.
And we'll end up in the right place.
I want to hear the story.
It's not much.
I thought it was a very good story.
Well, the story before that one is more interesting.
Okay.
So I'm a senior. I'm taking an extra English class just to get ready for college, right? So I'm taking Mrs. Larson, I think. So Robbie Sorensen has her, and Neil and Robbie are in an earlier class for juniors. So I wrote a characterization of Neil Larson.
Oh.
And like I was talking about some hypothetical, very irritating individual. And she read that in that class for the juniors where Neil and Robbie were.
And Robbie knew it was him?
Robbie knew exactly who it was.
What, did Neil?
And Neil did too. And Neil asked me about it afterwards.
What? What are you talking about?
Said, who did you write about? I said, well, I put together a few characteristics of individuals and made up this person.
Oh, good on your feet. He could have killed good on your feet.
Well, he made me give him a hug at Ann's funeral, and Robbie thought that was funny.
With his beard and everything.
I said, does it mean that much to you to give you a hug? Then I'll give you I absolve you of all your sins, whatever you want. But then the next essay, we were supposed to write something real autobiographical. I said, nothing's happened to me. I've had a boring life. I'm going to have to make something up. Then I go home. I said, oh, there's that Stibnite thing. And maybe that'll be interesting. And so I wrote about Stibnite. My dad bought this town. We were there all the summer and we did this. And the teacher just died laughing that I made up this thing. I said, no, that's true. That's the real deal.
Well, is it true that you calculated how many people had to speak?
No.
That's not a true story, and that you deliberately sabotaged your own grade not to be among the people who speak at graduation?
I was just happy that I didn't make the cut.
Come on.
I didn't calculate that.
Our story sounds better than his.
Well, let's just say over time,
Sexy Rexy giving me a B+ in drivers
Rex Handler
is enough to keep me from the
Do you know
top
how much
honors.
money Dad put down on Stibnite when he bought that from Bradley Mine? $50,000 cash.
Well, he's walking into the office to tell people what he told
Actually, what happened in 1950, see, it closed in 57, or 55. Dad he bought from Bradley Mine before anyone at the mine knew it was closing. And Dad, like he does, flies in with his staggering beach in all his glory, walks up to the office and he's looking around. He's not asking anybody anything. And finally someone says, excuse me, sir, is there something you can do? And he says, well, no, I just want to look at what I bought.
I own this place.
I own all of this, and I own all the buildings, and I own the mine, you know, everything, all the buildings, outbuildings. And that's the first anyone at the mine heard about them closing. And it took 2 years for everyone to get all their stuff out. That's why John had a heyday in some of those houses.
John went, you found more stuff. I always
because
remember you
people would
finding
put all their
stuff.
stuff in the house and lock the house, want to come back and get their stuff.
Well, that wouldn't keep
John
going
was
on.
there.
But this was,
we didn't touch
he wasn't
any
at
of
the
that
age of
stuff.
accountability yet.
Oh, that's right.
No, but we didn't touch the stuff that was obvious.
No, you went into the
The
shed.
abandoned houses.
Didn't we got into some of those sheds and stuff.
But I didn't take anything. No, I got all my stuff under the porch.
Oh, well, did you remember that little shop that had all the airplanes?
Yeah, of course, but it was always locked.
I know. Why didn't we break into it?
It was right next to where we were living.
No, hey, John was not accountable yet.
John wasn't baptized yet.
Same John at first.
John probably calculated that. But people used to, I was there when Dad caught someone stealing. Well, that happened all the time. And he caught someone one night stealing a whole 2-ton truck full of stuff. And the next day that guy came over to the mill, and Dad and I are working doing something, and this little runt down there was calling Dad dirty names. And I kept saying, down and kick his butt, Dad. And Dad would not go down. And, you know, I just remember that so vividly in my mind.
That's a strange memory.
It is strange because he was ugly.
Oh, it's okay if you beat ugly people, but if
Well, I mean, he was very, and I'm there.
Who was Mr. Weenie?
Oh, he was
Weenie.
Norton Thompson's cousin.
Really? He had a belly that fit right against the steering wheel?
He had a
yeah, and it wore a little.
I have never heard this.
No, I just remember
we
being
ate candy bars. Charles and I would ride with him, and he'd give us candy bars all the time. And he could steer with his stomach.
I just remember his belly coming right to the steering wheel.
Who is Mr.
It was in
Weenie?
1954.
Weenie.
Belly.
Can you honk with his belly too?
Oh, it was so funny. Do you know where Dad had his accident? You know what the name of the area was?
What accident are you talking about?
When the boom came down and smashed his foot.
I thought that was right next door.
No, where'd that happen?
Midnight.
Oh, was that
Was it
midnight?
midnight?
Down by, you know where the mine buildings were and stuff? There was a concrete bridge that went over the bridge, and there was about 6 or 8 houses in there. That's where Dad first started moving houses. We never moved, he never got up to there. Charles and I were paid by Norm Thompson to strip.
So he knew
off the
Norm
houses.
Thompson that long ago.
I know Norm since I was 12.
I didn't know that.
And we used to strip those houses, and we were there. You weren't there, but Gordon and I and Charles were there when the boom came down on Dad's foot. And he had 2 helpers, and the helpers were helpless, like doing nothing.
So if it had been 3 inches farther, it just hit his
It
head.
killed him. But it's crazy because it's a cable boom, and the cable got tangled, and he whacks it with a hammer. He wasn't thinking, you know, be a little more careful.
Is that what happened?
Oh, it came down right now. I'm about this far from Dad, and so
He's
Gordon.
hospitalized for that. That's why he's in the hospital in the house burn.
That was why he was in the hospital. Mother was pregnant with Paul. She was, what, 7 months pregnant?
House burned down all by itself as far as we know.
That's an amazing phenomenon.
They showed Dad.
It's one of the last instances of spontaneous combustion known in the...
Uncle Tony burnt the house.
But they went to the hospital, and that was the night you did your glory thing.
Hey, he was under the age of accountability as well.
And Catherine's watching.
He was under the age of accountability.
Yes, he was.
And Mom said you could never play with matches. Well, Mom was gone.
Mom was gone.
And what did Catherine say?
The cereal.
Cereal.
He tells the story a lot.
Machine and the cereal.
Well, cereal was pretty sacred.
Family records.
I thought she got the curlers also.
She might have got the curlers. But you know what she did do? We all got out of that
Safely.
without any burden, any problems at all.
That was pretty amazing.
Well, all of the rest of us are over on the caved-in roof next door. We're going to have a
We used to see
sleepover
that
on
on
top
that.
of the roof.
Do you remember that?
And we could see the smoke puffing through like smoke signals. It was,
You still remember
oh,
that?
I remember that. And Charles and Stephen ran over the house. I said, well, that's kind of cool, but I didn't know there was a problem.
Well, we went over to help Catherine haul some things out. Rest
I'm
of you were over there.
only 6 years old.
You were 7.
7.
The roof had caved in on the house. And
That's why we had all the sleeping bags there, and it
If it hadn't been for that,
That's why I wish I could collectively hear you all talk about, so that way you could fill in details that, I don't know.
that house went down in 10 minutes. Like the trailer
It was
house.
the nicest house in town though, wasn't it?
No, there's one bigger one. The doctor's house next to the hospital, which we moved into.
After that accident?
There were
That
only
was
one
what,
2-story home.
three-story?
That was the big white one.
that was 3 stories. Wasn't it?
Well, it might have had a basement, I don't recall, but I know it's 2 stories and had a big banister.
Yeah, your coin collection melted or something.
Well, I was gonna be rich. I was collecting
Pop bottles.
jars for my mom's canning, mason jars, and pop bottles, pennies, all kinds of stuff that fell underneath the porches.
Boy, that,
There's spiders and all kinds of crap down there, but I had
He got his,
marbles and coins. And
but those bottles blew up. You'd hear them blow up in the fire. Boom, boom.
And Charles had all these petri dishes and all this chemistry stuff from the mill.
Over at the mill.
well, it seems surreal in memory.
Well, now, partway to the mill, there was a little shed, you don't remember on the side of the mountain? There was a dynamite shed. That's where Charles and I went in one time and got a roll of caps.
Oh,
There was dynamite in there, Antone, and all kinds of stuff.
we've never been careless.
We didn't know what that stuff
I
was.
didn't know what it was.
Gordon and I went. There was a service station down by the hospital and the school, and there was a locked building behind the service station full of guns and dynamite and caps. But we got to the pumps and we were squirting what little bit of gas left, and we lit that up.
Holy cow! Oh man!
It's amazing that we all live.
And I remember we
How
were.
did my mother survive this whole process too?
So Gordon and I ran away once, and we hid in the doctor's house. They had a bunch of these National
That was the
Geographics.
big White House. the
Yeah.
doctor's house.
Catherine and my mom were walking around town calling our name. We were up in the second story in the closet laughing. They'll never find us. They'll never find us. Gordon.
I want you to tell a story about a Christmas memory of you unwrapping all the presents on a Christmas Eve.
I never did that.
You don't remember that?
We didn't ever have to unwrap a present to know it was.
No, but you got all the presents out of that closet, took them into the bedroom.
I looked at all the. I never unwrapped anything.
So you knew what it was just by feeling it.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Tell them what you took to bed with you.
I remember we were sleeping 4 in the back room,
Yeah.
and Grandma Hanks had given me a present, and I took it to bed with me on Christmas Eve. And was a little record, but I slept on it and I broke the record.
Grandma gave you something that valuable. That was an unusual one.
Why would I take it to bed? I remember being in that room when they had the Yellowstone earthquake. It was shaking. And what was that, 59?
Well, I was with.
And then they would
straw stack. We had a hunt in the straw stack.
Over by where the corral was or what?
Oh no!
Is this a Charles story where they burned down the haystack?
We burned down the straw stack. It built. That was over before he moved up. Before Dad even bought the
It's over
property.
across the river where we
It was
turned
across
into
the
DI.
tracks. You notice you're going past the fairgrounds, across the tracks on the right, and he had a hut inside there, and he decided to light a candle, and we're in there, and all of a sudden we're running for our lives.
Spontaneous combustion.
Blows the whole everything went
I
up.
think fires have followed us all of our lives, haven't they?
We have those who are pyromaniacs, what I can call them.